Hello everybody, welcome back to going over the new book releases coming out in July. I am so excited. I opened up a bunch of tabs and I'm ready to share them all with you. So normally I don't have a bunch of tabs open. Normally I just go through the list and open things as I go, but I was like, let me be a little bit more prepared this video. So I have like 20 plus books that I want to talk about. Not that I've read any of the synopses or anything. I've mostly clicked on them based on the author, the name, cover, the little brief synopsis at the top. There's quite a few. July might be a good book release month. We'll see. First and foremost, we have a new Christina Lauren. Christina Lauren is one of my favorite authors. I love them so much. This is called The Romance Revival and it's expected July 14th. I have a feeling this could potentially be a book of the month pick, so that'd be exciting. I'd pick it. It says 3 years ago, Emery Finch did something completely out of character. She got married to Luca, the impossibly charming landscaper she met one blistering night in Vegas, who made her laugh, made her dance, made her feel. But now Emery is consumed by her top secret job, missing dinners, forgetting anniversaries, and promising herself Luca will understand once her cutting-edge research comes to light. Until the unthinkable happens. A tragic accident takes Luca from her. I'm sorry, what? Desperate not to lose him, Emery breaks every rule to bring him back, and Luca would probably thank her for it if only he could remember her. Their first kiss, their sunny Sundays at the beach, the life they built together, all of it is gone. It may be a miracle of science, but for Emery it's her one shot at a second chance, and this time she won't waste it because true love is always worth reviving. Listen, I'll read anything Christina Lauren writes. I'm probably gonna read this. A new Sherry Lupina is coming out. This one's called Getting Away with Murder, and it's expected July 28th. Jill and Ted adore their New York brownstone the way others adore their children. They have carefully, expensively made every inch of it their own. It reflects who they are, their status and tastes. With the grand mahogany staircase and state-of-the-art kitchen, it is the stuff of glossy magazines and real estate dreams. It is their sanctuary. When Ted's inheritance runs out and he makes a bad investment, they panic. How can they protect their beloved home and enviable lifestyle? The answer is obvious, or at least it is obvious to Jill and Ted. Of one wealthy family member from whom they stand to inherit millions could solve all their problems. Together they will get away with murder. As long as they trust each other, as long as neither makes a mistake, as long as there are no surprises. Oh boy. I have read one Sherry Lupina and I have another on my TBR that I need to get to, but I don't know. This does sound really interesting though. She does write very good domestic thrillers, so I'll think about it. It does say it's her 10th thriller. There's that. Another new, magical realism romance. Love that. This is from Natalie Messier. It's called Every Version of You, and it's expected July 7th. It says it's for fans of The Love of My Afterlife and The 7-Year Slip, which is two of my favorite books. They both have magical realism. They both have romance. I love them both. So I'm ready to try this. It's a debut following a woman who gets a chance to relive her college years with the opportunity to win back the one that got away. It says Joey Vasquez's life is the definition of good on paper. At 32, she's a Los Angeles lawyer on the cusp of making partner. But while she's a professional success, she's a personal disaster. Her social life mostly consists of nights spent watching TV with her elderly cat. There is nothing wrong with that. Life isn't quite what she dreamed when she was younger, but really whose life is. But a dinner party with the best friend she's secretly pined after for years and its aftermath changes everything. When Joey is given a second chance at life, she finds herself in college again. Armed with memories from her first life, Joey is certain she's come back to finally convince the one man she ever loved to love her back. So why does she find herself strangely drawn to the man she thought she hated? I think that sounds amazing. I will probably read that one actually. I love the premise of that so much. Like I've thought of that so many times. I love that. This is a new fantasy, magical realism, literary fiction. I really liked the cover of this one and I read the top of it and I thought, ooh, that sounds a little bit interesting. It's called Everything Was Beautiful and Nothing Hurt by Ben Reeves. This is expected July 7th. It says Travis is death in the modern world. He wears jeans and a t-shirt and lives in a small gray town. His job is to offer people comfort in their final hours of life. He's stoic, gentle, and a little naive despite everything he knows. He's young and handsome despite who he is. Each death he witnesses is meaningful to him. He listens, never judges, and most importantly, never tries to change anyone's fate. He knows that every life must eventually end to maintain the balance of the universe, and he respects the cycle. And he meets Dahlia, a midwife, and her boisterous 8-year-old daughter Layla, who live across the hall. As Dahlia and Layla come to embrace Travis, it becomes more difficult to maintain the detachment that's allowed him to function for so long. Their time together teaches him what's truly important in life and what might be irrevocably lost in death. It says it's written with radiant warmth, wisdom, and compassion. It's a timeless story about appreciating life, accepting its end, and finding our place in the universe. That kind of, to me, sounds a little bit like a TJ Klune that I have read. Under the Whispering Door, perhaps. That was a little bit more magical realism, a little bit more magical on that sense. This just sounds really kind of sad and a little bit grief forward, but it sounds really beautiful, and it's something I'll kind of keep my eyes on and see if anybody else reads and reviews it. A new thriller from Ashley Winstead. I feel like I may have talked about this one before, or maybe it got pushed. Pub date may have gotten pushed, but we're talking about it again. It's called Hot Girl Murder Club, and it's expected July 14th. This sounds familiar, but who knows? It says, 10 years ago, aspiring singer-actress Scout Sage lost the only thing that mattered, her sister Georgia. Ever since Georgia's mysterious death at a Hollywood party, Scout's done her best to honor her memory, clawing her way through the industry and collecting a network of climbers along the way. Hot girls in stilettos with cutthroat ambition, a new Hollywood order. When a slew of targeted murders makes headline across LA, all pointing to Scout as the killer, she turns overnight from a mid-tier pop star into the world's most famous alleged murderer. Now, everything she's worked to build, including the justice she wants for Georgia, will fall apart unless Scout can prove she's not guilty. Meanwhile, the young and unusual detective assigned to her case, herself no stranger to tragedy, begins to unearth secrets not even Scout knows, let alone her millions of new fans, particularly about the ways Georgia's death connects to an even older pattern of crimes long hushed over in Hollywood, an old reign of terror that, if brought to light, could be the fuel that ignites a reckoning the world over. I think this sounds really good, actually. I don't think I've ever read Ashley Winstead. I have one I know for sure on my TBR. I think that sounds really good. I think I'm gonna read that one. Another new mystery thriller. This is also tagged as horror, so potential. This is from Jessica Knoll, who wrote Bright Young Women. I was like, that sounds very familiar. This is called Helpless, and it's expected July 7th. It's been 12 years since Faye Heron broke Henry Spalding's heart. Henry was her college boyfriend, her first intense love, but Faye was in danger of being subsumed by him. What does subsumed mean? Absorbed. Okay, I was like, I have never heard that name or that word in my life. Now Faye is one half of a power-producing duo with her Hollywood husband. Henry is a married father running the family business. Both of their lives have essentially gone to plan. Former and beloved college professor suddenly passes away. Faye and Henry find themselves back on campus for the funeral, circling something old and dangerous. Something, if Faye is honest with herself, she's been trying to duplicate for years, but Henry is one of a kind. The kind who delivers a hypnotic apology for the way things ended, the kind who suggests they go back to the hotel for a drink. No. The kind who drugs and kidnaps her. Oh boy, I should have read that. When Faye comes to Henry's remote mountain cabin, she's beside herself. Has Henry brought her here to punish her? She did, after all, write and star in a lauded episode of television based on their indelicate appetites and vicious breakup. Is this cannibalism? As her week of captivity unfolds, what are all of these words? Henry's wonton? What does that mean? Primarily describes actions or behaviors that are deliberate, unprovoked, and completely lacking in care. Girl, these are big words. Demands intensify, and a sprawling years-old mystery begins to take shape, one that will rewrite history as Faye remembers it and reveal an astounding cataclysmic truth. Girl, there's a lot of big words in here, words that I just don't even know. This sounds really interesting. Again, I think the premise sounds good. It's gonna have to be something that I hear about from others, though, because I think it sounds good, but I don't know. I also feel like it could easily be an aardvark pick. A new contemporary romance. I haven't touched on a romance yet, except for the Christina Lauren, of course. This is called Extracurricular. It's by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and it's expected July 14th. Ramona Wilder has spent her whole life in the spotlight. After a hit kids TV show, she transitioned into music, singing in arenas around the world, and becoming an icon for millions of teenage girls. Okay, Disney Channel. Now at age 26, exhausted by the inhumane lack of privacy, she's done with all of it. She wants a chance at normal, whatever that might mean for her, and she's starting with college. Professor Nick Navarro is recently divorced, but determinedly, girl, I can't read today. Optimistic, allowing himself a very reasonable 10 minutes per day to wallow. When his department calls a meeting about a celebrity enrollment, he plans to treat whoever it is like any other student, except when Ramona blazes into class and causes an uproar. The typically easygoing professor is rattled, maybe for the first time in his career. Ramona loves the way that she flusters him, taking every opportunity to push Nick's buttons, though what she really wants is to unbutton them completely. When a crisis brings them closer outside of class, they begin a tentative friendship amid an undeniable attraction. But Ramona can't be so easily finished with her old life, and they'll both have to confront their pasts if they want a chance at something real. That sounds really cute. Again, this feels like an aardvark pick. I do enjoy a good romance. I don't think I've ever read like a pop star romance. I don't know if it's something I'm really interested in, but there's an option. Another new romance. This seems to be a hockey romance. This is by Elena Ferguson, and it's called The Final Score, expected July 7th. Zach Baker. is on top of the world now that he's back on the rink where he belongs. But the high comes crashing down when he re-injures his arm immediately following his return to the ice, and this time he might never be able to play again. After a lifetime as the strong, happy hockey guy whose sister needed him, Jack is left questioning everything he knows about himself. Abigail Thompson feels like she's hit rock bottom. It's only been a few months since the massive scandal that finally severed the cord between her and her narcissistic father, and now in her last weeks of grad school, she's been kicked out of her building with very short notice. The last thing she wants to do is ask her half-brother for help after what she's put him through, but it's looking like his best friend's spare room might be her only choice. Brother's best friend. Jack is flighty, flirty, and a little full of himself, all the things Abby's learned to avoid in men. However, spending every day together breaks the ice between them. That's funny. And she starts to realize that Jack might not be who he seems. It's possible that maybe, just maybe, he might be struggling as much as she is. Soon, confiding in each other leads to falling into bed, and this fling will either play with their hearts or score them the ultimate goal of love. So cute. I don't think I'll be reading this one, but there's another hockey romance for you off-campus lovers. A new historical fiction romance. This kind of, just looking at the cover and seeing that it was romance and historical fiction just gave me a pinch of atmosphere, but that's just me. This is called An Infinite Love Story. It's by Chanel Cleaton, and it's expected July 7th. It says, when Joe Mitchell launches into space, the world is watching. It's 1968, and the country waits with anticipation and excitement for another successful mission, another celebration, as America sets its sights on the moon. And then comes the knock at the door. Joe Mitchell's spacecraft has lost contact. He and his fellow astronauts on board are feared to be dead. It's his wife Vivian's worst nightmare come to life, her grief suddenly taking center stage as the nation waits and mourns. In her quiet moments, Vivian relives their memorable story, unable to accept that this is the end to a love that felt as though it was written in the stars. As the investigation surrounding Joe's lost spacecraft intensifies and the mishap is written off as an operator error, Vivian is determined to clear her husband's name and uncover the mystery of what happened in space. When someone starts sending Vivian messages she believes only Joe could send, she begins to wonder if their love is stronger than space and time, and she'll do whatever it takes to bring her husband back to her. Y'all, I'm reading this. Are you kidding? You're kidding. I'm 100% reading this. That sounds so sweet. It sounds like I'm gonna cry. I'm already crying. What do you mean? Another new thriller mystery. This is from Kelsey Cox. It's called Pretty Dead Things, and it's expected July 7th. I read the top of this and I was like, that sounds great. Secrets emerge as a Texas beauty pageant turns deadly in this rich and addictive novel with a jaw-dropping twist. I'm here. It says, the year 2000, I just be making up names. Isabel Whitmore vanishes at Sherman Ranch in Analt, Texas without a trace. 2025, the annual Lone Star Princess pageant looms, bringing long-standing grudges to the surface. Ingrid fled Analt in the wake of her sister Isabel's disappearance and has now returned, just in time for a construction crew to start digging up Sherman Ranch. The pageant brings up past traumas that Melanie can't forget. All of these names are bolded, by the way. Pat, newly sober, starts to feel threatened in ways that bring back old demons, and Sarah Lynn, that is such a Texas name, who comes from a long line of pageant winners, knows that losing is not an option. Old resentments and new confrontations reach their boiling point, temperatures drop to deadly degrees as a record-setting storm brings down the state's power grid. Y'all, this is very real. With everyone trapped under one roof, scores will be settled, and more than one person will end up dead. Some secrets are better left buried. This actually sounds really fabulous. I'm gonna keep my eye on this one. Another new contemporary romance. This synopsis is quite long, but it's called Yes, Chef by Grace Riley, expected July 21st. It says the bear meets It Happened One Summer. Okay. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. All right. After a public meltdown in the dining room of one of Manhattan's most elite restaurants, Chef Jack Hartman is back in his South Florida hometown. Angry, grieving, and saddled with the unwanted storefront his late mentor left him, his life is spinning out of control. And that's before Poppy Winfield, the blonde, bubbly, utterly infuriating daughter of his former boss, shows up at his dock. Poppy needs to escape from her disapproving family, her horrible ex-boyfriend, and her reputation as someone who has never taken anything seriously. But more than that, she wants to prove herself, and she has just the plan to do it. Fortunately, that plan involves Jack Hartman, the most arrogant, prickly, intimidating man she's ever had the pleasure of throwing a shrimp at. It sounds like enemies to lovers. She knows Jack is desperate to come back from his unceremonious firing, so she proposes a deal, working together to open a revamped version of his mentor's restaurant. He'll handle the menu, and she'll use her skill as a social media influencer to sell the hell out of its grand opening. If she and Jack can make the restaurant a success, it'll be an accomplishment no one can deny, and a ticket for both of them to return to New York. Jack is intrigued, but only on his terms. If Poppy's going to work for him, she must learn the ropes of the entire business, including how to cook, from him. As sparks fly both in and out of the kitchen, and tensions reach a boiling point, Poppy and Jack are left wondering, could they be a perfect pairing, or is this whole experiment a recipe for disaster? I'm loving this wordplay, I love the cover, and I think I'm gonna read this. July is turning out to be such a good month so far. Another new mystery thriller. This is from V.A. Vasquez, and it's called The Death Row Club, expected July 14th. It says some things run in the blood. Okay. Plenty of people have lousy parents, but Nicola Fisher's father has just been convicted of murdering 5 young women, including her best friend. Yikes. Fired from her job and hounded by reporters, Nicola passes the time by doom scrolling and drunk dialing Greer Woods, the alluring host of the hit show To Catch a Killer, who cracked the case and turned Nicola's life upside down before disappearing along with her so-called best intentions. When an email from Greer finally shows up in Nicola's inbox, there's no apology or explanation, just a cryptic invitation. The Death Row Club is an annual weekend getaway for the adult children of serial killers. Okay. And Nicola is the newest reluctant member. Desperate to escape her small town, she accepts the offer with barely a second thought, forging tentative bonds with her fellow club members, most of whom seem intriguing and only slightly unhinged. When an uninvited guest shows up at the remote wilderness retreat, everyone was put on high alert, and the next morning paranoia turns to outright fear, because one of their own is dead and the rest of them are left with only one question. If the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, which one of them is the bad seed? I will probably be reading that one as well. Wow, July, you're looking good. Another new horror that I'm really excited about. This is from Mallory Arnold. It's called Cross My Heart, I Hope You Die. It's expected July 14th. I love this cover. When Nora, Ruby, and Cham discover that they've each been dating the same man, oh my gosh, is this like John Tucker but horror? What starts as outrage quickly spirals into a plot for revenge. Together they hatch a plan to lure their boyfriend to a romantic getaway in a secluded cabin at the top of a snow-covered mountain. Only what was meant to be a harmless payback soon takes a chilling turn when their not-so-adoring boyfriend is found dead in the cabin. Stranded and snowed in, the women began to look at each other with increasing suspicion, and as tensions rise, hidden motives come to light. To survive, each woman must confront her own demons as they fight to uncover if one of them is the killer or if something else lurks in the freezing wilderness waiting to pick them off one by one. That does kind of weirdly give me John Tucker Must Die, but in like a different way, and I'm kind of here for it, just saying. I really like the cover of this one. This is called The Roommate Rule. It's by Georgia Stone. It's expected July 7th, a new romance. Dylan is the kind of person who is always 15 minutes early and never leaves things to chance, so she can't believe she's about to spend 6 weeks on a last-minute trip to Wales that she didn't plan, living in a cabin with a man she's only met once. Max always goes with the flow, and after his +1 drops out of his all-expenses-paid travel influencer trip, he's happy for his sister's friend to take the spot. Oh, I'm loving this. After all, from what he remembers of their brief meeting a year ago, Dylan is the kind of woman he'd be more than happy to spend some alone time with. Not that anything is going to happen between them, because Dylan knows getting involved with his reckless, irrepressible flirt is the last thing she needs. She makes a house rule. Sorry, there was no word there. They are roommates only, and under no circumstances can anything untoward happen between them. But as the days go by, Max starts to realize how much she enjoys chipping away at the walls Dylan hides herself behind, while Dylan begins to admit to herself that there may be more to Max than she first assumed. And before she knows it, she finds herself wondering if their roommate rule might be one rule she actually wants to break. I love the cover of this. It sounds very, very cute, but it also sounds like every typical romance, so I'll see what other people say, but it does have really good ratings so far, so we'll see. Another new historical fiction thriller. This is from Sylvia Moreno Garcia. She wrote Mexican Gothic, so I haven't read that yet, but I am interested in it. This is called The Intrigue, and it's expected July 14th. Handsome con artist Ulysses has long charmed lonely women via letters to steal their money, but money is hard to come by in 1940s Mexico. Ulysses knows his looks won't last forever, and he's desperate to get his hands on a real fortune. He thinks he's found it when he captivates his newest correspondent, Perla, the owner of a small-town boarding house in picturesque Veracruz. But when he meets her, he finds something he didn't expect. The woman has a niece, Inés, who is as observant as she is desperate to escape her aunt's household. When Inés discovers Ulysses' true intentions, she wants in on the scheme. She'll convince her aunt that Ulysses is a great catch, Perla will marry him, and her money will vanish. Easy, fast, and clean. But Perla is not the desperate, silly spinster Ulysses imagines. She harbors secrets, and although Ulysses does not believe in true romance, Inés is more alluring than he bargained on. Suddenly, a simple plan may become perilously complicated. Venture into the streets of a small town where the patina of convention and good manners conceals a cauldron of avarice and lust. Again, what is avarice? Insatiable, extreme desire to gain, hoard, and hoard wealth. Gotcha. Again, like I said, I haven't ever read from Sylvia Moreno Garcia, although I am interested in Mexican Gothic, so again, I'll see what people say about this one, but I am interested. I am intrigued, if you will. Ooh, another new mystery thriller. I love this cover. It's called Buyer Beware by Catherine Ryan Howard, expected July 28th. If these walls could talk, they'd scream. I'm in. When Ellie moves to 1 Delaney Row, she hopes to find a fresh start, a place where no one knows her name, her history, or her secrets. But what she doesn't know is that her new home is already hiding someone else's secrets, and the people determined to keep them are watching her. As Ellie starts to unravel the house's disturbing backstory, coming closer to the shocking mystery at its center, she unwittingly There we go. Puts herself on a deadly collision course, not just with her new home's history, but with her own as well. A puzzle box of a thriller full of mind-boggling twists and turns, Buyer Beware is a chilling exploration of the dark secrets that any house can hold, and of the lengths we'll go to start over. This tells me nothing at all, and yet I'm still interested. A new Chuck Tingle is coming out. Love the cover. This is called Fabulous Bodies. I have 2 Chuck Tingles on my TBR. Have yet to read them. I need to get to it. This is expected July 7th. It says it's a supernatural joyride where Drive meets Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is one of my favorite movies of all time, so there we go. Fashion influencer by day and grave robber by night, Poppy Stringer is on call when Eddie Michaels, a flamboyant piano-slamming rock star and queer icon, unexpectedly dies. All Poppy has to do is retrieve Eddie's body from the medical examiner's office, but what starts as a routine delivery quickly goes off course when Eddie wakes up. Poppy must fight for her life in a blood-soaked night of carnage and fabulous entertainment all across Palm Springs. I think this is going to be picked up by Aardvark, and I think I'm going to grab it. I'm now probably going to have 3 Chuck Tingles on my TBR. One of these days I'll read one. Another new magical realism fantasy romance. I don't know, it just sounded so sweet. This is called Habits of the Sea. I love this cover. It's by Shay Earnshaw, and it's expected July 7th. Night Clay Lockhart's wife dies. A violent storm tears their home, and the 8 hectares of land beneath it, away from the Scottish coast, sending it adrift into the Atlantic. 30 years later, 12-year-old Ellie Mills discovers the fabled floating island off the coast of Nova Scotia and finds Clay still living in the weather-worn farmhouse perched on its highest hill. When the island vanishes overnight, Ellie is left questioning whether it ever existed at all. But decades later, now in her 30s, the island resurfaces, and Ellie returns determined to uncover the truth. What she finds is even Clay hasn't aged a single day. Faced with the impossible, Ellie learns that some mysteries aren't meant to be solved and that a life shaped by wonder may hold more promise than one bound by certainty. Spanning centuries and coastlines, Habits of the Sea is a haunting romantic journey through time, memory, and the invisible tides that pull us home. Again, that tells me nothing but yet everything, and I'm interested. A new romance thriller. I love that these are 2 genres that are combining lately. This is called If Books Could Kill by Kate Eberell. It's expected July 21st. When Roxy makes a tongue-in-cheek wish to live out the plot of her favorite author's next novel, she has romance in mind, namely the sweet, safe, swoon-worthy storylines Anna Matthews is known for. It should be a dream come true when her wish is granted and she finds herself swept into a first date with a handsome stranger who seems designed to take her breath away. Except for one little hiccup. That handsome stranger tries to take her breath away. Literally, with a knife. The thing is, Roxy may be the new Anna Matthews protagonist, but this time Anna is writing a crime thriller. Thrown into a perilous genre she's never read, Roxy is desperate for help, so when her escape takes her straight into the path of Grant Hoffman, an anxious English professor with a convenient love of crime novels, she decides that kidnapping a grown man is a small price to pay for her own survival. Together, Roxy and Grant navigate a madcap story where the lines between fiction and reality blur. They'll find out if they have what it takes to make it to the end, or maybe even happily ever after. I'm reading that. What do you mean? I'm reading that. I saw the name of this and immediately it just gave me it just took me back. It took me back to a time, okay? And I think it's supposed to. This is by Laura Marie Myers. It's called The Mashup and it's expected July 7th. Y'all know you've played this. Mansion, apartment, shack, house. Girl, I'm in. Ruby Wynn is a staunchy rule follower who lives by the numbers. So when a surprising breakup on her 35th birthday ruins all her well-laid plans, Ruby makes an unexpected wish, only to wake up inside a MASH game from 7th grade. Settled in a Technicolor mansion, driving a tie-dye Jeep and running a roller disco restaurant, Ruby is living out her childhood dreams come true, with one exception. According to the game, Ruby's other half is supposed to be Penn Hayes, her brother's annoying and annoyingly handsome best friend. But there's zero romance between them. Just like in real life, all they share is sarcasm. With no rules to follow and desperate to return to reality, Ruby makes her best guess at an escape plan. Win Penn's heart so the game comes completely true and she can go home. It's unthinkable. On Ruby's list of do's and don'ts, Penn Hayes is a lifelong don't. But as Ruby navigates the magical world she dreamed up at 13, she wonders if by finally throwing out her rules, she might just find her way home to the love and life she deserves. Once again, I'm just tossing it out there. I'm reading that. And then last but not least, we have a new mystery thriller horror. I love the cover of this. I also own a book by this author, but I have yet to read it. This is called The Season of Sinking by Daphne Wollstonecraft, and it's expected July 7th. It says it's the second thriller. I have the first one on my TBR. Where is it at? Somewhere. It says, when Imogen Bly's, is that how you say that, Imogen? I feel like I say that wrong. Imogen. Her mother suddenly passes away. She leaves her Seattle apartment and returns to Lake Blair, the picturesque Washington town where she grew up. After her and her twin sister Amelia arrive, ready to pack up their mother's home, strange things begin to happen, reminding her of her long-held feelings of dread surrounding her hometown. She enlists the help of her first crush, next-door neighbor Rory, to uncover the truth about her mother's death and the traumatic event she experienced as a child. But is the boy who got away really the man with something to hide? Or is the suspicious neighbor in the house across the lake behind it all? When her own family's tragedies lead her to question the disappearance of a local local young woman the previous year, her persistent unease becomes terrifyingly real and suddenly nowhere feels safe. So the first book that I have is like a podcast, true crime, serial killer type thing. I can't wait to read it. I'm really excited. It sounds very much so up my alley. This could be, but I'm gonna see more reviews before I think to purchase this one. And that, my friends, is it for all of the new releases coming out in July. There are so many fabulous new releases, like truly so many good releases. I don't think a single one of these books I was like, no. Like almost all of these I was like, yes. So I cannot wait for July's book releases. I can't wait to see what I can get my hands on, and I hope you guys are just as excited as I am. Let me know if there's any that I missed that you're excited about. Of course, I don't go over sequels or anything in series, although there is quite a few good stuff coming out as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video nonetheless. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see y'all in my next one. Bye, guys.